Welcome to another episode of the Trailer Island podcast. I'm Alex and I'm joined by
Matthew
and Steve.
And we are here for another week, another Wednesday.
Indeed.
And we've been to the movies.
I know, I'm so excited about this.
So flipping happy about this.
We all went to literally brick and mortar physical spaces with which to watch films on a big screen.
Cinema chairs.
Actual chairs.
The actual silver screen.
I miss the taste of of highly manufactured popcorn.
I really miss the feeling of trying to tune out the sound of other people eating popcorn in the cinema.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I was being as quiet as I could.
No,
Thank
you were actually
very
great.
much.
You were the ideal audience member, Alex. So it wasn't you, but it was anyone else. Just chew quietly, please.
Did you go see Tenet together?
We did.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. What
You'd
do you
already,
say?
you'd already seen it.
Sorry, I don't know. I was just.
You didn't invite us to your advanced screening.
Yeah, what the?
In fairness, everyone was invited to that, but
Anyway, we've all been to the cinema and it's fantastic.
And it's lovely to go out and actually do things in a dark room.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, great.
Okay.
So, films.
Yes, well, this week we all went and saw the wonderful new thing that is the current blockbuster.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's been quite hotly anticipated, this film. I think that's fair to say.
the
biggest-
only winter blockbuster going around.
Well, yeah, indeed.
And how long was this delayed? Was it delayed or did it come
I think
out
it was
in
only
time?
delayed a month. I was just looking at a trailer then, and they were saying mid-July in those initial trailers. So
That's pretty good.
yeah.
Not bad. I think in this episode it's going to be difficult to discuss it without discussing
Indeed.
certain plot points.
don't
So
want to,
maybe
we don't want to spoil it because it is a brand new
Yeah.
film, and,
Yeah.
and we promise that we will not spoil it for you. So please feel free to listen. But to be fair, I don't think we understand it anyway. So it's not like we can actually spoil it because we don't know what went on in the movie.
No, that's a very fair point.
What
Matthew,
movie
would
are we
you,
talking about?
We're here.
yes, would you like to introduce?
I would love to. We're here to talk about Christopher Nolan's new film, Tenet.
We all believe we'd run into the burning building. But until we feel that heat, we can never know. You do. You chose to die instead of giving up your colleagues. That test you passed? Not everybody does. Welcome to the afterlife.
To do what I do, I need some idea of the threat we face.
As I understand it, we're trying to prevent World War III.
Nuclear holocaust.
No. Something worse.
All I have for you is a word. Tenet. It'll open the right doors, some of the wrong ones too.
You have to start looking at the world in a new way.
Don't try to understand it. Feel it.
Hell happened here?
Hasn't happened yet.
That certainly sounds like a Hans Zimmer score,
and it's
but
certainly
it's not.
It's definitely Christopher Nolan once again furthering that Inception-style horn music
Yeah.
that he first introduced in the Inception trailer. And it's going strong still. I do find it sometimes a little annoying. It's really dramatic in a trailer format. It's like, okay, let's just calm down. Just show
take
me
some time here.
Show me a bit of the movie, but you don't need to assault me, with that kind of stuff. Anyway,
It's selling the film, Matthew.
it is selling the film. One of my favorite lines in that film, in that trailer, is the one which is "Don't try to understand it, just feel it." And I feel like that, in hindsight, that was a warning to us audience members, going, just enjoy the movie. Don't try and understand it, because this film is very complex. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, the premise of this film is I won't say a bit all over the place, but it's dense.
It is dense. And now this film has been written by Christopher Nolan himself. And as far as I can see, he's written it by himself as well with no help. And I can't think of the last time that he did that.
No, is it usually got a writing part?
He usually does.
Yeah.
One of his brothers, I think.
Yeah, Jonathan usually helps him out.
Okay, but at least what I'd looked at before, it only had him listed, but I could be wrong.
Who would like to try to explain the general plot? Should I try and explain it and then you guys just pull me up?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, all right.
If you feel like I'm swaying from...
I mean, I went to the same screening you did, Alex, so I think I know about as much as you do.
Well, we both kind of walked out and sort of were like, what?
Yeah.
So what about...
Yeah.
No, but hang on, but... and that's probably the best review that you're going to get is sort of people going, but then also...
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Let's stop procrastinating, Alex. Let's dive into this premise.
Alex, what is this film about?
So what I understand is that the protagonist, is that his actual name?
It's always a promising start. What I understand.
I believe that his character's name is just the protagonist.
Okay.
Yes.
Played by...
John David Washington, Denzel's son.
I did not realise that until someone mentioned it. I was like, okay, now that you mention it, I'm seeing it everywhere.
He's quite good in the film.
Oh, he's fantastic in the film. It's great.
Okay. Sorry, premise first. And
Steve
then
has an opinion.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get out of having to explain it. So the protagonist, he's a CIA agent.
Or something like that.
Or something like that, secret government agent, and he's assigned to try and prevent the end of life, humanity in itself. In the trailer, they talk about nuclear holocaust, but apparently it's a bit more than that. It's basically the destruction of existence.
There's a bit of, for all those Doctor Who fans out there, there's a bit of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff in this. And I think that phrase is the best description of the flow of time in this. I think Christopher Nolan does have a reputation of manipulating time throughout his films, and sometimes he's done it incredibly successfully. In this film, the premise is pretty cool. The idea being that there's a technology that exists in the future that can radiate objects or people or just anything so that their entropy is reversed and they therefore are traveling backwards in time as opposed to forwards in time.
Yeah.
So early on in the film, the example of this is there's a bullet on the table. He puts his hand out, and then instead of him dropping the bullet goes from the table up to his hand. Mm-hmm. The idea being that he's already dropped it. That's where it started to lose me, because well, if he hasn't dropped it yet, how does the bullet know that it's been dropped? Mm-hmm. But that's when the lines start coming in about, don't try to understand it too much, just try and feel it, that kind of thing. Like. I feel like some of it's was kind of going, I mentally want to move that thing, but if its entropy is reversed, me just thinking that I want to do it means that it's suddenly going to do it backwards because I've already done it. I don't know. I feel. Do you guys follow? Because you're both staring at me.
You understand? It's like an intent.
Yeah,
there's an implied intent that has an effect on these.
Yeah. But then that gets muddier because later on it's shown that you need a machine to reverse your entropy, whereas when he's in that room, he's able to do it without going through a machine.
Well, no, that item, it's the bullet in that case.
Oh, so not him, but the bullet.
That's correct. Yeah, so he's moving forward, but the bullet is moving backwards.
Okay, all right.
And this is where things start to get a little muddy.
Really muddy.
I would like to say at this point, again, I clearly, from that description I've just given, I don't fully understand this movie, but it is impressive to see at least, like in terms of just visually, story aside, character aside, just visually, it's a pretty cool concept.
I would agree. Yes,
and that was pretty much demonstrated in the trailer. Like we saw that trailer, we saw some grand sweeping shots. John David Washington walking along that window where there's gunshots have taken place. We knew it was going to be pretty well shot and put together storyboard wise.
Well, what we were talking about before is like watching it with the director's commentary is going to be quite interesting.
I can't wait for that.
Because there are a couple of scenes where time is working forwards and reverse in that same scene.
Yeah.
And how that's put together must have taken a very long time to storyboard, script, shoot, and then edit those scenes to work together.
Especially because Christopher Nolan is well known for his love of practical effects. And having just looked at this film, you can sort of look at going, you can just tell that a lot of it is like real explosions or real stuntmen or whatever. But then when things are happening in reverse and also happening forward at the same time. You think, well, how have they put that together? You know, it's actually quite impressive how they've done it.
I mean, the good example of that is there's a fight scene at a flight terminal.
Yes.
Where one character is fighting another, and when you're watching it the first time, the fight looks wrong. Okay?
Yeah.
You're watching the two characters go at each other, and the shot will cut, and the next shot will look unbearably wrong, like it is in reverse, and of course it is. And then the shot will cut again to a forward momentum shot.
Yeah, sure.
So it really, I don't know what the point I'm trying to make is, but like there's definitely palindrome stuff going on throughout this whole film.
I think if you're able to get over the fact that you haven't been spoon-fed an explanation, or at least the explanation you've been given is quite dense in and of itself. If you're able to get past the fact and you can just accept, okay, there are things going backwards and there are things going forwards, and they're meeting together and they're sort of dealing with that, those fight scenes become quite enjoyable. But you do need to really suspend your disbelief initially until you get used to it. And it takes a while. It doesn't hold your hand at all.
For a film that I don't think I've heard as much exposition as I have in a long time, I still sort of sat there and going, huh?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it does make an effort to try and explain it, but at the same time you go, well, I've heard that, but I still don't know what you mean.
And I don't know, Steve, what your viewing experience was, but I found it really hard to hear a lot of the dialogue.
Okay, I think this is a little bit symptomatic of Nolan's films in general.
Right.
Because when we first got leaked teasers for The Dark Knight Rises, the biggest criticism of that teaser was that you couldn't hear Tom Hardy at all.
Yeah, they had to re-record his dialogue.
They did, yeah. And they had to re-engineer it, and they, in the final cut, Tom Hardy still has there's a comprehension problem there, and I think that's just symptomatic of Nolan's films in general. I watched The Dark Knight the other day, and there are bits in there where either the atmos or the score are outweighing the dialogue.
Yeah, I think that was a big complaint from Interstellar, was that the music was just overbearing the dialogue. And I think I get what Christopher Nolan is trying to do. He's trying to make it a more sort of visceral experience. And that's fine. It's fine when you've got it at home and you can put subtitles on. Then you go, fantastic. But in the cinema, and again, Alex, I agree with you, we're in the same session, I found the dialogue was either mixed to be really bassy, so you couldn't hear what they were saying. It was just like a low grumble of dialogue, or there was just music and sound effects so loud above it that you're going, I can't hear any of this.
Is this because maybe Nolan's a cinema purist as well?
He is.
Does he expect that every theatre around the world is going to have the perfect balanced sound?
I don't think he expects it. I definitely think he would hope that they would,
I think we saw it in a fairly modern cinema, despite us being stuck on an island. Like, the island cinema is
pretty good.
Top notch.
It's not quite IMAX, but it's still pretty good.
We should get an IMAX.
We should get an IMAX. It would be nice. Money.
What it comes back to is so many scenes where you couldn't hear the explanation. They were trying to tell you what's going on, but you couldn't hear it. Now, the problem therein lies obviously not being able to hear it, but also I feel like it didn't help at all in terms of getting the story across. Like, how complex it was still didn't replace the fact that the storytelling itself wasn't as concrete as we probably had wished it was.
Definitely one of Nolan's weaker, I would say, and more mechanical films.
Yeah, I think the example for me is Dunkirk, the film he made previous to this. There's very little dialogue. It's all told with pictures, but you never, ever don't understand what is happening in that movie. That is telling stories with pictures, which is what film should be. You shouldn't have to have film with so much dialogue that you're essentially spoon-feeding information to people. That still doesn't help you understand the story at all. You need to be telling it with pictures. It needs to be a visual medium.
Yeah. And I think sort of detrimenting that with this film is maybe just the lack of overall character story, or at least there's a really, really thin one going on.
It's so complex.
Yeah.
The general plot line of how it all works is so complex that it kind of takes away from the overall experience. But then, Matt, you say, well, you're supposed to... The film tells you to let it go.
Yeah.
It's like, well, but should I have to?
No, I don't. If it's actively taking you out of the film, I definitely don't think you should let it go. It actively took me out of the film.
It does feel like a bit of a physics lesson.
Yeah,
especially in that first hour. It's like, am I at school?
Yeah, but also to counter that is that use of storytelling, like the mechanic that they've got with forwards and backwards time, leads to some of the coolest action scenes I've probably seen committed to cinema.
The last 45 minutes, when I was sitting, I was literally just so happy with just I was about to say stagecraft, but the staging of those action sequences towards the end are truly breathtaking.
Well, from the opening scene, which isn't a spoiler because it happens at the very start, it doesn't really tell you much, but when they're at the opera and this siege takes place.
That was really well done.
And I was just like, that really, 30 seconds in, bang, we're away.
Yeah.
And things are happening, and it's just like, what? And even as, like, really in that scene, there's nothing that sort of indicates what the film is going to be about. But as like a siege, a general one in general, it's just like, that is breathtaking. It sets you up for what you're about to go through.
It was really good. The action and I mean, again, I think that's why the mechanic exists. Is Christopher Nolan had this idea for these awesome action sequences that take place both in reverse and forwards, but at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we mentioned the little bit at the airport hangar. It's truly amazing to go, wow, that looks incredible. Especially when because you're going forwards and backwards, you see it a number of times.
Yeah,
and as each time you see it, you have a greater understanding of where everyone is, what's happening, and it does work really nicely.
And it was cheaper for them to buy a plane
I can't believe
than
that.
it was to do the CG for it. So they're like, well, let's just buy a plane and throw it into a building.
Buy a 747 and literally just drive it into a hangar. For real. It was brilliant. It looked so good. It really did.
I'm looking forward to the behind the scenes of that.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about the characters that are in the story. So we've got this central character pushing through. He's joined by Neil.
Again, I want to hear the name of the character. It's the protagonist. I'm not happy about that.
You still hung up on it?
Well, in the context of the film, it's more of a code name.
Maybe.
That's what I took away from it.
I just felt like it's just too on the nose.
Christopher Nolan isn't known for his subtlety.
Sometimes he is, but I mean, obviously, whoever he's writing with it, interjects that subtlety. Definitely not in this film, though.
No, it's not a very subtle film.
I did groan at the mention of John David Washington earlier, and I've seen him in Black Klansman and now this, and both times he's just been a bit of a wet blanket.
I really liked him.
I really got behind him.
Cool.
Yeah,
I was like,
cool.
Man, this guy is cool. He's just walking around. He's like, I know what's going on. He's like, hey.
And that's what you want from your protagonists.
I think I have a reason though. I think I know why, and it's because I keep on comparing this film to Inception. All right, and Inception, you've got the wildly charismatic, aged, experienced hunk of Leonardo DiCaprio.
Steve, you're sweating.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Michael Caine, but...
And Michael Caine, he's also in this one as well. But then you've got... I mean, in comparison, no one's really going to compare to Leo. But John David Washington really does not like...
Judi Dench, maybe?
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think, and a lot of other viewers are probably going to compare this movie to Inception as well.
I think that's unfortunately unavoidable, only because I actually thought that this would be somehow a crossover with Inception.
Okay, yeah.
Because the trailers, I thought, yeah, I could see, okay, we've got the government agency, like the Black Ops kind of government things using technology that is quite unique. And I thought, are these going to somehow, bleed into one another? And obviously they don't. They're very, very separate movies.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I agree, Steve. I think this film will forever be compared to Inception as being the inferior version of Inception.
I think so as
unfortunately.
Well. Like Inception, though, I do think I'm going to enjoy this movie more on a second viewing.
I think it really impressed me with its physicality. Mm-hmm. Its staging, the action sequences the first time round. I will not lie, I did not grasp the story.
Yeah, exactly.
At all.
Yeah.
But I think if I watch this a second time, knowing what the set pieces are going to be, I'm going to be able to, and hopefully if I can get better sound, at least for the dialogue, because it really bothered me how muffled it was. Mm-hmm. But if I can actually understand what they're saying and actually follow it, I think I will enjoy it so much more. I do like it. I liked it the first time I saw it, but I know that I'll like it a lot more the second time around.
Now, the threat that they're trying to fight against in this? Is it's
I don't know. I'm still unclear on that one.
Okay, so my understanding is it's this Russian oligarch. He's a billionaire bloke. What's his name?
Sator.
Played by the wonderful Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
With a excellent Russian accent.
Yeah, he's very good.
And he is hell-bent on finding these bits of a device that will lead to the
that's right, yeah.
that will lead to the code to unleash the destruction of
He's going to
humanity.
reverse the entropy of the entire planet, which will somehow wipe out all life on the planet. That's his plan.
Yeah, and so they're
for some
trying
reason.
to stop him from doing that.
Yeah,
Because that's obviously bad.
Sator was probably one of the best characters I did see.
I feel like he's the only character that has an arc.
Yeah, he does have an arc.
Yeah, like I honestly, I mean, again, like he Christopher Nolan is a massive Bond fan. I think everyone is aware of that. And this guy is a Bond villain.
Yeah, absolutely.
He is a Bond villain, but he's also the only character that has an arc where I thought, oh, I kind of feel sorry for this guy.
Yeah.
He's got the clearest motivation out of every single character in this film.
Either him or his wife, played by the wonderful Elizabeth Debicki.
She was really good in this. She was really good in this. I liked her character.
I was like, okay, here's the ham-fisted love interest. And it does actually start off that way. You're just like, why is the protagonist changing his motivations for someone that he really, in the scope of things, shouldn't care about?
Yeah.
You know, it's the one versus the many thing, which is so common.
Talking about that, this film made me really want Christopher Nolan to not do a Bond film.
Okay.
Because this film highlighted to me that whole thing of he's just going to reverse Bond back to the whole kind of two-dimensional, I'm on a mission, but there's a woman, I'm going to go and do stuff with that now. You know, and I just feel like he's not the right person. He doesn't understand, at least in this film, he doesn't demonstrate character motivation and logical character action. He seems to be able to just sacrifice that for sake of plot.
I do think that this is maybe an exception to that. I think he does get himself wrapped up too much in the mechanics and the premise of the film that he does lose a lot of genuinely good character moments that we would have seen in like Inception, you know?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just because your story is complex doesn't mean it's good.
Exactly, yeah.
And I don't know if it is good yet. I need to see it again before I can even judge the story.
Isn't that interesting? Because I remember when The Matrix came out and people are like, you got to watch it a couple of times. And like now you can watch The Matrix, you're like, I get it straight away.
Yeah.
Inception, I kind of felt like, I could probably watch it again and catch more stuff. I haven't watched it twice. I've only seen Inception once.
I loved Inception.
And
that blew me away.
I got it from at the end of it. I'm like, okay, I get the general idea of how this is all happening. And there was no question about the ending for me in that film.
Yeah.
But then you get to this and it's just so complex.
Yeah.
And muddled, I think, as well.
Muddled and just not quite clear. That maybe down the line, perhaps we need to do a retrospective in a year's time when we've had things explained to us. We sort of go, okay, oh my God, now I get all of that. But it's like the classic case of the last Skywalker. What's it called?
Oh, Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker. That Disney did all these tweets about the film afterwards, saying, "Did you know that?"
It's like, no,
this was the thing. It was like, well, no, I didn't know that.
We didn't know that because it wasn't in the film.
Because it wasn't explained to us. And I really hope that doesn't happen down the line here. But I've got a feeling that we're going to be going online to sort of go, what did that bit mean?
I think once we watch the direct, because I fully intend to watch this with a director's commentary just to try and get some answers. But I think once I've done that, I think this shouldn't be the case, but I think that will actually be the key, is essentially having Christopher Nolan sit down and explain it to me over the top of the movie. That's when I'll understand it.
I saw a wonderful infographic about it 2 years after Inception came out, just like illustrating the plot of the movie. And I really can't wait for an infographic of this movie.
It's like
I have seen one. I've seen one of someone doing the sort of how the time works backwards and forwards. And I looked at that and people were like, oh yeah, this is genius. And I'm like, I still don't get it. Like
it might have been genius on paper, but when he put it on screen, it I don't know if it felt bloated or just messy.
Maybe I just don't get it. Maybe that's the conclusion. I don't know. But I enjoyed the spectacle.
Yeah, the spectacle is on point.
And I'm really struggling with, does the spectacle outweigh the story? And I feel like they're really tussling with each other.
I think it's
in a tug of war.
Yeah, and I think going back to that line that I singled out from the trailer again about don't think about it, just feel it. what I would suggest about my reaction to this film is I walked out of it thinking regardless of what the reaction would be, even if it was just, oh, that's a cool action sequence, this film affected me emotionally in that sense. Going, oh, cool, that was a great ride. Like, there were bits where I felt the anxiety of a moment, that kind of thing. So it's like, well, does that mean it worked? Even if I didn't get it, it at least made me feel things.
In my case, I feel like the whole don't think about it, just feel it. Nolan's challenging me to think about this movie, though. Throughout the whole movie, he's saying you've got to think about what is going on.
Yeah, but no, Chris, no, stop, take your meds.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, then we look at the trailer, where the trailer raised so many questions like, oh, this is going to be doing some really cool stuff. And then we finally get the movie expecting answers. And I don't think we got them.
No, I remember saying to you, Alex, just as we turned up to the cinema, I said, I'd seen all the trailers. I think there were like 4 different trailers. And I said, I've seen all of these. And I know there's going to be some cool stuff, but I still don't really know what the film's about.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I did walk out of the film going, I still don't really know what it's about. And other than it's an action espionage spy film, I still don't quite get the story, or at least the mechanics.
What you are going to get out of this film is conversation. So if you go and see this with someone or talk to people who have seen it, you are going to have some wonderful discussions about
absolutely
how things are happening. And I think that's a great positive about this film is you come out and you go,
let's do some maths together, everyone.
All right, everyone get your physics books out. Let's go.
And I reckon what you need to do is probably what Christopher Nolan did was get a bunch of toy cars with some things and go, this one's going this way and this one's going this way and bang, crash, and then they got the guns and but the other
and then 20 minutes later, they do it again.
Yeah, so
they do it again. I forgot about that.
It's like a Prisoner of Azkaban.
But you know what? When it made sense, when you sort of got what was going on, you're like, this is cool.
There is a moment about halfway through the film, at about the hour mark, and I won't spoil anything again, just to soothe our dear listeners, but there is a moment about halfway through where it definitely does click a little bit more than the first hour does. Like there's a mechanic that's introduced, and you go, oh, that's visualized it for me. I kind of get it more now. Mm-hmm. And I definitely enjoyed the last half of the film so much more having had that sort of click moment, which is why I think I'll enjoy it so much more the second time around now that I sort of have a better understanding.
Yeah.
Because there's a bit, I don't know why they didn't open with it or have it closer to the beginning of the film, but there is a bit where they do very cleverly visualize this mechanic taking effect in real time. Again, it's hard to talk about without specifically mentioning it because it's.
Look, we could probably talk about it, and I still wouldn't understand it. I mean, we're not going to ruin it because it's such a great moment. But
it's one of my favorite scenes in the film. I was like, "Oh, yeah, cool, I get that." And I remember sort of sitting up a bit more, going, "I'm sort of in now for like the next hour. I'm sort of more on board."
It does do it quite well when you see the same scene from multiple perspectives.
Exactly. Yeah.
Really sort of helps to soothe things over. But I think in this conversation, I don't know that we've answered many questions, or if there's anything more that we can really give our audience.
I mean, I would say for people who are massive fans, Ludwig Göransson, who we've talked about before on this podcast, is sort of not taking over from Hans Zimmer, but because of Hans Zimmer's commitment to Dune, Ludwig
and Bond.
And Bond.
But obviously, ironically enough, that was only because of the original release dates, and now that they've all been delayed, he probably could have done this anyway.
But I mean, Ludwig with Christopher Nolan, still pretty like an adequate soundtrack. I really like it.
It's very atmospheric. It's not so much music as it is actually just sounds. And I really enjoyed the sound, other than the dialogue, which I thought they just needed to fix the dialogue sound design. But the actual music and sound effects, though quite loud, I thought was quite impressive.
Mm-hmm. I was mildly shocked by how loud the film started off.
And I don't know if that's because we were just unused to being in the cinema.
That is quite possible.
Yeah. I would love to go and see Rogue One now, having not been in the cinemas for however many months, and gone, wow, that looks and sounds incredible.
I think Nolan likes to start off his films pretty loud, though. I remember going to see Dark Knight for the first time 12 years ago, and the first really loud sound in that film is people blowing open a window and parasailing over to another building. Yeah. And that first window shatter is deafening.
He sort of does the same in this, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can't recall how the start of Inception is, but
Inception's the Leonardo DiCaprio getting all wet and salty on the beach.
Bum, bum,
Oh yeah, it's Hans Zimmer's thing. Yeah,
That is, you know what? We might get a copyright strike because of that, Steve.
That was quite accurate.
I do French horns really well.
Reversed French horns, I think you'll find.
Wow.
Yes.
Anyway,
let's.
it's hard to. Again, we can't say too much. I would suggest going to see the movie.
Yeah.
It is impressive.
And just quickly, I don't know if it's a spoiler, but what's a tenet?
Yeah,
It's a palindrome. That's all. I think that's all.
But
it was
is it a randomly selected palindrome? Because they could have used anything.
Yeah.
Does it mean anything?
Does
Tenet?
Inception mean anything?
Well, the word is more
The word is
relevant
the
to
plot of the film. Like, it's
but-
what they do in the film. But in this, are you teneting?
I'm
I don't
gonna-
know.
Is, is the protagonist the Tenet?
I just want to put out there that I don't know if Inception was a word commonly used before the movie, or whether it
I
was.
think it might have been.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure it's a real commonly used word.
But I feel like
No, but now if you say Inception, you're referring to the film, like,
or you're
or if
referring
you say
to the act of incepting a memory. Or
yeah,
a
that's right.
dream.
If you say, "Oh, that's Inception,"
They've been-
you know,
they-
it's much more common now. Absolutely, but I don't know if you could use the idea of a tenet in a
yeah,
common.
you can always say, "Oh, he was a member of the band since its inception."
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. True. I'm sorry. No.
But it's beside the point. Like again, Tenet. What? Yes, it's a palindrome, but does it mean anything?
No.
But I
aside
guess
from
I
that?
guess
I mean-
it does mean what the film is trying to do.
I
You know, with the backwards and the
Tenet's-
forwards being the same. You know, I reckon Glenelg was much cooler before
yeah,
Tenet was.
They could have called it Glenelg. It would have had the same meaning.
Tenets do refer to rules, I suppose.
I suppose so.
Yeah. Dear listener, explore for yourself, for
These
we
are the
cannot
tenets of
answer. You can listen to this entire podcast in reverse and get all the new answers that you
In
desire.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
So strange. Let's give this thing a
Let's do it,
What
let's do it.
would you give it out of what?
You had a good idea for it, didn't you?
You had a great idea, Alex, earlier. You were talking about the grater, the food grater.
Oh yes. Okay.
Cheese graters.
It doesn't give anything away, but cheese graters.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the film yet and you've listened to this, remember the grater and then enjoy the moment.
And
in the
if you
film.
have seen the film, you know exactly what it is. The smallest part of the film, but perhaps one of
it made me cringe.
Yes.
Think Jason Bourne with a magazine.
Or
Yeah.
a pencil.
Yeah.
Or John Wick with a pencil.
John Wick with a pencil. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Out of cheese graters.
I again do not understand this film at all. But I really enjoyed it. It was a good action film. A bit dialogue heavy at the beginning, but a good action. The last hour is pretty full on. So I can't wait to see it again. I am going to give it a 4.
Okay. Steve?
I resent the fact that Nolan sort of wants me to go back for a second time and rewatch it just to get the full scope of it. I feel like I should have got the full scope of it on the first watch. And unlike several other movies, I don't feel the enthusiasm to go back and go, oh, you know what? I really want to pick up little tidbits, because the little tidbits I need to pick up with this film are probably crucial plot points.
Yeah.
You know? I'm not picking up little tiny details in the background. I'm picking up stuff that I should have picked up on the first watch through. And it's making me sort of doubt myself, going, you know what, should I have picked that up in the first? Am I the dumb ones that didn't get Inception? I didn't like John David Washington. I thought his character was a bit thin. And I think it's probably one of the more sterile Nolan films, but I won't say it wasn't grand, it wasn't sweeping, it wasn't action packed. And when those moments occurred, they were very engaging. So I'd probably give it 3.
Okay. In terms of rewatchability, I don't think I've ever thought about a film this way before, but watching it for the second time, it's not because I want to, it's because I have to.
Yeah.
And they are two very different things. Yeah. And I liked the protagonist in this. I thought he was cool. You know, he sort of knew what he was doing. I enjoyed watching him on screen. Kenneth Branagh's character, Sator, was cool as well. He was probably the best character in there. I hated him.
Oh, no.
I hated him.
Yeah?
But that was his job, was for me as the audience member to hate his character.
And it's very hard to hate Kenneth Branagh. So he's done it because he's just a likable actor. Like you think of Murder on the Orient Express and his little role in Dunkirk and all of that, you go, yeah, he's a cool character. And this one, you go, wow, that's an evil man.
And for those things to sort of balance each other, much like you're saying, Steve, as well, with those amazing set pieces where these action moments are just clearly probably the coolest stuff I've seen on a screen in 20 years.
I'd second that. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And I don't think you need to see it on a massive screen. I would have loved to have seen it on IMAX. We don't have that here. We saw it on a fairly big screen, but you could just as well see it on a normal size screen. There's nothing, it's not that full Nolan spectacle that you probably need it in. So you can enjoy it wherever you want to watch it, I think, which is also good. But I think I fall right between both of you guys and feel that 3.5 is probably where I sit.
I want to revise mine and give it an extra half because I just remembered how good Aaron Taylor Johnson was in this film.
Oh, yeah, I forgot he's in this.
He stole the screen every time he was there.
Yes, who was he? He was
He was the not the army dude, but like the special forces dude.
Yeah, okay, I was trying to place him.
With the beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Great, because I love him in Kick-Ass.
He's excellent in Kick-Ass. And every time he was on screen in this film, he's just like... He's out-acting both Robert Pattinson.
Did you feel like every time he rocked up like an adult rocked up?
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, okay. okay.
Kids, put away the toys.
Because he was sort of a little bit as confused as everyone. He's like, just go with it. Like, you'll work it out. But yeah, that's probably the best way I can think of it.
So an extra half for me for Aaron Taylor Johnson and Robert Pattinson as well.
Yeah,
And Robert,
we haven't mentioned he was actually really good in this movie.
Robert Pattinson is fantastic. He's becoming one of my favourite actors now.
He's really...
Now that we've pushed past the Twilight
exactly.
He really is, and his recent appearance in a Batman trailer, I am ready. My mind and my eyes are ready.
The world is ready for Cedric Diggory.
Yes, well, not a bad character either. Anyway, so that brings us, I believe, to about 11. It was 10.5, but Steve, you adjusted your score.
Yeah.
And we're sitting at 11 out of 15 cheese graters.
Wonderful.
For Tenet, which is now out in cinemas that you can go...
Provided it's safe, of course, but
Provided it's safe in your state, territory or country. We don't know. We've got a lot of listeners from around the world, and we honestly hope that you are all well and doing okay in this current
and it would be a wonderful world
status.
if you are well and safe enough to go and see this in cinemas. So if that's the case, please do.
If you do have the option, do go out and see it. When it's released, I guess we give it 11 out of 15 is a pretty strong recommendation.
It is.
And you can come to your own conclusions about what the film was about.
Tell us how we're wrong.
Well, we've been the Trailer Island podcast, and you can find us at trailerisland.com.au. You can send us a message through there if you like, or even on the Facebook page as well. There's a Twitter.
At Island Trailer.
At Island Trailer. And it's perfect for this week.
Oh God.
Tenet.
We prepared for that perfectly. And there's also an Instagram. You can check out all sorts of things. I've been Alex. I've been joined by
Steve.
And Matthew.
And we've been the Trailer Island podcast. Good luck trying to understand the film, and we'll catch you next week.
This is a Narrative Network podcast.